a new day and welcome back to my channel and to a brand new series that I'm so excited to get kicked off. So I've been thinking about doing a series of videos to my younger self, just all the things I wish I had known when I started my journey as a homemaker, as a wife, all that stuff. And then I was talking to my little sister who's 10 years younger than me, and she was kind of saying the same thing. So I felt like, you know what, my mind's at the right spot. I think it's time to get this series going. I'm just gonna trickle them out here and there as I feel excited about the topics. And today we're starting off our Hello Homemaker series with the title of this video and all about hosting. I decided to call this series Hello Homemaker because one, it sounds friendly, and two, it's like when you first become a homemaker, it's like, hello, homemaker, welcome to the club. Anyway, so if you don't have a big sister, I'm the oldest, I never had a big sister to help me out at all. I wanna be that for you, and you can come along on this journey with me. So hosting can be a really scary thing, and it might be something you might be thinking, why even bother doing it? But I'm here to tell you that it's super important and it's a lot of fun. You're missing out on a lot of fun opportunities if you just don't ever open your home up to others. And we're gonna talk about that in this video that can look so many different ways. I did want to say it does not take anything, food, clean house, anything to be a good hostess. It's all about your mindset, and you know, you can just serve a glass of water, as I heard someone say, and that is hosting. But if you'd like to take it to another level or try actually hosting a party or a little gathering or event, I think this video will be super helpful for you if you'd like to expand a little bit out of that realm. But again, there's nothing wrong with just literally gathering your friends together and calling that hosting as well. And if you want to talk more about that, I actually have a video that I filmed with my cousin Jana. In that one, we discussed the importance of hosting, how to have a heart for hosting and just a welcoming spirit and more of that kind of thing. So check out that video. I will link it down below in the description box so that if you'd like to dive even more into your hosting journey, there you go, it's there for you. And for those of you who've already been homemaking for years, I hope that you can still learn from this video as we get back to the basics, and maybe it'll remind you of a few things that, oh yeah, you've been meaning to do that too. So welcome, hello homemaker. I'm so glad you're here, and let's get into it. Okay, first up, this coffee. I cannot think of a better partnership between me and Cometeer Coffee. They sent me free samples and I was like, oh my, they're kind of luxurious, kind of pricey, but they were so delicious and they were the best coffee that I've ever had. Even better than like the fancy espresso machine coffee shop coffees. I was just blown away. I was hosting a play date and I had my friends over and we all tried them out together and they were super, super delicious, I have to tell you. You can make it in several different ways, which is really nice. You don't need equipment. You can just pull a frozen capsule out of your freezer and pour hot water over it to make like an Americano. Or what I like to do for myself is to make an iced latte where I just melt the coffee and add milk and cream and a simple syrup, and it is so delicious. My husband also likes it hot in like a hot latte. Cometeer is not instant coffee. It's actually flash frozen at negative 321 degrees for peak freshness. And let me tell you, you will taste it. Like, it's so good. So I've loved every flavor of their coffee that I've tried. This one is their light roast, which has hints of papaya, it says, and ginger in it. My favorite, it's hard to pick a favorite, but their Southern Weather is really good as well. And that is a medium roast, and it kind of has undertones of milk chocolate and candied walnut. I don't know, it's so good. But let's have a taste of this one. It's delicious, so good. So it's hard to sell you on food just by looking at it, especially like coffee drinks and stuff, but trust me, I've never been more proud of making coffee for my friends than when I use this stuff. So yeah, it's good. And right now you guys can get an entire sleeve of Barista's Choice coffee for free when you use my link and the code UNLOCKED. I'll put it all down below in the description box for you. Again, you're gonna get 8 cups of free coffee when you use my code. So try it out, let me know what you think. I hope a lot of you use this code so they continue to work with me, because honestly, I think this might be one of my favorite partnerships. Okay, back to the topic at hand. I did want to say I have made a PDF printable for you to just have a little worksheet to help you think through if you're planning on hosting a gathering and you're feeling a little scattered. It's very basic, but it also gives you a little bit of a framework sometimes when you just have a blank page in front of you or you really don't know where you're headed or what you're doing. It's just nice to have a little starter sheet, you know. So I will leave a link for that printable down below. Okay, so you want to host, right? You want to have somebody over. There's kind of 3 different approaches. Maybe there's somebody specific you'd like to have over, like, you know, maybe it's your cousins or some people from church, just your family, something like that, kind of centered around the people that you want to have, and then you kind of figure everything else out from there. Or B, it could be a certain type of party you want to host. Maybe there's a football game coming up and you want to have like a football party, or maybe you want to go biking. We love to host biking parties where we have a couple friends over and we'll just go biking on the bike trail, and then we'll come back and then we'll eat food off the grill. Very casual dining, usually outside eating. Or maybe there's like a specific element that you want to plan a party around. Perhaps you got a new swing set and you want to have a play date and invite everybody over for a little test run. Or maybe there's a new recipe that you're really excited about. We just recently discovered our love for smoked cream cheese, so that could be a great way to just let's invite some people over that would enjoy that type of food. Maybe you just got a new patio in. I'm hoping that's going to be me next summer, and you want to have an outdoor patio al fresco dining situation, you know? Or it could be centered around a certain celebration. Maybe you want to have everybody over for your new husband's birthday party, you know? So after you have that framework kind of figured out, the next question is, okay, how many people are we going to have? Are you going to invite others as well? Do you want it to kind of be more of a mixer type of thing? I would say stay away from that at the beginning, because the last thing you want to worry about when you're beginning as a hostess is to try to make sure everybody is like getting along and talking or whatever. I would say stick with an easy group of people that all knows each other and they feel comfortable. But as you get into it more and feel more comfortable, you know, definitely I feel like some of my favorite parties to go to are when they are a little more random and you get to meet new people, friends of friends, and your circle widens, and it's just so much fun. So I love getting invited to parties like that, and I'm trying to host more like that as I get older and more confident in my hosting abilities. But I would say that's something you might not want to, you know, be too worked up about the first couple times that you're hosting. Then you're going to want to think about, okay, what time are they coming? And then after you have that figured out, what food is necessary? Are they coming after supper on a Sunday evening and you just need to set out a few like little picky things, snacks, that type of stuff? Maybe everybody can bring something. Or maybe you're really wanting to do it big and you want to have your whole family over for Thanksgiving this year. You go, girl, you can do it. Your family will forgive you for any mistakes, you know, and they gladly help bring something. But yeah, figure out what food is needed, and maybe your answer to this question is, I'm not doing food. And I would challenge you to add some kind of food element. It doesn't have to be super fancy. Maybe there's something that you just really enjoy and you've been making yourself, you know, it can be something as simple as avocado toast you've been making yourself for breakfast for the last while, and you know you can make a mean avocado toast. Well, maybe you can make a little toast bar up or something. That sounds actually kind of complicated. Okay, it could literally be, you know, apple cider and pretzels. Or the first winter that we were married, I had my friends over in small groups here and there, and every time I would serve the same thing. It was waffles and ice cream on like a Sunday evening, and people loved it. It's kind of different, off the beaten path. I had a waffle maker, why not? And just with two of us at home, we couldn't go through a lot of ice cream. So having people over could like help us get a couple different flavors of ice cream. We could all enjoy it together. You can make it as fancy or as simple as you want. Sometimes I'd have like the peanut butter and the whipped topping and all that out. Other times, no, it would just be very classic, simple waffles and ice cream. Another good option would be brownies and ice cream, or warm cookies right out of the oven. That could be a nice little element. And maybe some people are not in this camp at all and they think that food is not necessary, but I would say there's something that happens around food, and it gives you something to do, something to talk about. You can sit in the kitchen, or you can spread out throughout the house. You can take into consideration if you're having little children coming or not, you know, what you want to actually have. But there's something about food that just makes everything feel more inviting and welcoming, and you don't have to bring it all yourself, but kind of take the initiative and let people know, I'm having everybody over for supper, and I think we're gonna do pork barbecue sandwiches, and my husband's gonna do fries. If everybody wants to bring something, you know, people are very willing to help, you know? Or as I've gotten older and more, not skilled, comfortable, I guess you could say, with hosting, it's sometimes just easier to do it myself, but it's fun when everybody can contribute. I feel like it makes it a lot easier on the hostess, and you can kind of try new dishes too, because you never know quite for sure what people are bringing. The next thing you might want to consider is your activities. A lot of the time you're gonna find that you don't need a lot of activities. Maybe your evening is just centered around the campfire and you're gonna roast s'mores and chat. Maybe you'll have cornhole setting out, or you could buy some sparklers for the kids to light later on in the evening. Glow sticks are always a hit and they're so cheap. Dollar Tree for the win. Or sometimes on play dates, I will say, we're gonna go on a walk. So everybody bring your kids' bikes and your strollers, and we're, you know, gonna go on a walk. In the wintertime, often card games are a great thing to do. If there's a lot of kids around though, that is a little bit more difficult. But if you're a young hostess, I'm guessing a lot of the people you're inviting are just young as well. Probably let the good times roll and play cards or marbles or something. Enjoy those years while you have them, because soon there's gonna be kids everywhere, and finishing a game completely is like an amazing feat in itself. Or maybe you actually have your children and you just haven't hosted much, or it's been a long time and you want to get back into it again and you want to do a play date. You can make it very simple and just be outside. You don't have to clean your house or anything. You could even do a craft outside or something. If you're gonna do a craft with kids, I would definitely suggest make it like whatever you would like to do, dumb it down in half. Because when you have a lot of kids around, it just makes it that much more complicated. You could do like a little pumpkin painting party, or I actually did adult craft parties. That was fun. Last 2 Christmases ago, I had my friends over and we had a big table in our unfinished living room, and we made wooden bead garlands and orange garlands. It was super fun just to get our crafting on as moms. I don't know, I had fond memories of that. And I'd love to do it again someday. So, you know, you're never too old for a craft, but that's also a little bit more of an advanced thing, I would say. If you're just getting into hosting, you probably don't need to worry about food, preparing your home, inviting everybody, and getting a craft together yet too, you know? Let's not reach for the stars right away. So as you can see, I'm making it sound kind of complicated to host. All these different elements you have to think about and just being so intentional. Not really, but if you are intentional like that, it makes things go twice as easy, and it's better to overthink things a little bit at the beginning so that you can kind of avoid any pitfalls that might come up later. But okay, you have your party planned, or your little get together, your gathering, your little hosting thing. And by the way, you can definitely have last minute things and just people invite themselves over or something like that. But I'm talking about you taking initiative and wanting to dive in a little bit deeper. Okay, so you have your situation figured out. What does that actually look like to get ready for a party? Now, please hear me out here. Do not shut down your whole week just so that you can host on the weekend. But do things throughout the week to be ready for the weekend. So hear me out. I would say 7 to 21 days ahead of time, invite your guests. I usually just do a text and include your address right off the bat. You know, even if your friends know how to get to your place, they might want to look and see how long it takes them to get there or anything like that ahead of time. So I just like to put my address in every time, just so that I don't have 7 people texting me and being like, hey, what's your address again? They're kind of embarrassed to ask for your address because they probably should have it written down somewhere, but they don't know where to look for it. And just put your address there. And also relay any information, like if you want them to bring any food or bikes for their children, hot dog sticks, mountain pie irons if you're doing a cookout, maybe even lawn games, whatever. Just let them know ahead of time so they have time to start thinking about it. And then I would say 5 to 7 days ahead of time, start doing any of those little home improvements. This is one of the best things about hosting. It puts a little fire under your butt to get projects done that you've been meaning to for so long. Not that you have to get them done for your guests, but it kind of gives you extra incentive. So maybe you were like planning to clean your front porch or craft a new wreath or do the weeding out front. Maybe you wanted to decorate for the new season coming up or get your rug finally unpackaged and rolled out, things like that. Just little projects. Use that extra motivation and incentive of people coming over to get some of those last minute things done. And then about 3 days ahead of time, you want to do your grocery shopping. You could do this a little bit earlier, but it's nice if you have your groceries pretty fresh. If you are planning on doing like a salad or something like that, you want those greens to be nice and crisp. And boy, I'm really overwhelming you with all this, aren't I? Maybe you're just having chips and root beer. That's fine, but I'm just speaking in different scenarios here. But you want to have your food on hand a little bit ahead of time because you want to have time to prepare. So then about 2 days before you're planning to have people, this is if you're having a more serious affair, you know, you want to kind of do a general clean, general tidy up. This is going to be really easy if you are newly married and have a small home because you don't have lots of different, you know, levels to clean up. But if you have 2 floors, maybe just tidy up upstairs a little bit. Nobody's going to be up there probably, so that probably won't matter. But just get that out of the way. You can take care of the clutter downstairs, maybe sweep your front porch, all that stuff, you know, things that you don't have to do last minute, but you want to make sure that they happen. You know, scrub sticky fingerprints off the front of your cabinets, anything like that. And if you don't have children yet, this is going to be pretty easy. I'm sure your house will not be quite like it is once you have little ones running around. That's why I highly recommend that you start hosting before you have a family. But you know, it's fine. It's never too late to start. So 2 days before your house is looking good, you're getting it tidied up, I would not focus too much on the kitchen because the day before is the day that I suggest that you get as much prepared ahead of time as you can. If you're doing that fancy Thanksgiving meal and you're making a couple of the dishes, do whatever you can the day ahead of time. There's a lot of things that are actually good a day ahead of time. Any soups or potato dishes, things like that, they get better sitting in the fridge. Baking, that can all be happening the day before. You know, there isn't a lot that has to be done the day of if you think about it. If you're doing like bacon wrapped appetizers, you can get that all wrapped up ahead of time to throw on the grill later. You know, maybe you're planning on having burgers. You can even get the lettuce, you know, anything. Just get whatever you can get done ahead of time, because that way it's off your plate, you know? And at this point, you'll probably realize you need to rearrange your fridge a little bit because there's things in there that weren't there before, and it's just kind of snowballs. So if you don't save it to the last minute, that's always the best scenario in my opinion. And then also the day before, you want to clean your kitchen. After you're done with the most of the cooking and the bulk of it, tidy it up at least. Wipe down any dirt, flour, all that kind of stuff. You don't necessarily need to scrub every surface, but the kitchen's one place that you do want it to be clean if you can help it. Wipe down your kitchen table and chair, and, you know, pay some attention to the floor. The floor is kind of a lost cause because it's gonna get dirty as soon as people walk in if they don't take their shoes off, or it's like a muddy time of year or something like that. But at least you did your best, you know, ahead of time. And I did want to jump back to, I didn't even mention this earlier, I actually like to clean after the guests leave. When I'm talking about like the cleaning, you know, people aren't gonna notice some dust in the corners and things like that. They're gonna notice a dirty bathroom, a dirty kitchen, you know, do the main things, but I actually don't even clean up the basement. We have a basement with toys and stuff in it, and the children go down there and it looks like a wreck in 5 minutes. So what's the point, honestly? I try to make sure it's somewhat fun to play in. You know, if there's too much stuff out, it's just no fun. But I don't tidy things up specifically. Maybe you have a toy room. You know, if it looks semi-presentable, that's good enough. And maybe you'll have everything done ahead of time and you're sitting there the day of and you're twiddling your thumbs, then by all means go for it. But I would say save those types of things for like last minute, or just not as high of a priority, because you're probably working a part-time job, full-time job, or being a mother. I feel like if you make your whole life stop just to host, you're not gonna be willing to do it very often because it's just gonna be too overwhelming and too much work. So if I can give you a little shortcut here or there, you have my permission to take it. Your friends and your family are not gonna remember if everything was put away to your liking, you know? They're just gonna remember how they felt in your home, and that's what's important. So this next step can either happen the day before, if you're planning on having people for Sunday lunch or something, or it can happen the day of, like if you're planning to have people in the evening, and that is to set up your food area as much as you can. Set out the paper plates and napkins, set out your dishes that you're planning to serve things in, have it all worked out, maybe set up your little drink dispenser without the drink in it, you know, have everything laid out so you can kind of see how it looks. Can you fit everything there? It's I feel flustered when I'm trying to recalibrate and try to figure out where people are gonna go and where the food's gonna be and how we're gonna get through the line, if I'm doing that while people are there. So I kind of like to have everything ready ahead of time and just kind of sitting there so I can picture things, and that's oftentimes I'll remember, oh yeah, I was gonna have olives. I forgot about that. And I'll get out the little olive dish or whatever. I'm notoriously bad for planning to have a certain dish or food and then forgetting to get it out. So this is one way that has helped me, just to set everything out. You can even have your serving utensils in that empty dish waiting to go. Honestly, it sounds a little overkill, but it helps me feel a little bit more in control. So I'm doing it. If you're planning to have special drinks or coffee or anything like that, you can set all this stuff out that's not perishable. Empty dishes, again, like I said, coffee cups, all that kind of thing, ready to go. And I highly recommend, maybe don't, if you're just beginning to start hosting, maybe don't do a full-fledged meal. You're starting to realize all these little components take a lot of thinking. And after a while, it becomes a little bit more second nature. But I would say if you think, okay, I can handle this much, cut it back yet even more for your first or second or fifth time hosting. So the day of or within 24 hours, do any last minute texting, telling people where to park, or oh, it's raining now, make sure you bring this or that. Maybe you have to readjust, recalibrate, make sure everybody knows what to expect, text everyone so they're all on the same page. And then that's when you're gonna clean your powder room or your main bathroom, the one that the guests are gonna use. And this is where, if you have a small house, it's actually almost harder because that one bathroom is what you use as well. So you have to make sure that when you use it last, you make sure everything's away and do a nice little wipe down, make sure the toilet paper is fully stocked, maybe light a candle, wipe the sink down and have the hand soap full, all that kind of thing. If you think of it, guys, if you forget any of these steps, your friends and family will be very gracious about it. But yeah, put a new towel on the towel bar so it's nice and fresh. I like to throw all my dish rags and tea towels that I've been using away into the laundry and get out some fresh stuff so it's ready to go, and you don't feel embarrassed if somebody wants to wipe their hands and they have to use your yucky towel you were just using, or they want to wipe their child's face. You have a fresh washcloth there for them. If you have time to think through those things, that's awesome. If not, it's okay too. Now this might be homemaking 2.0, but if you're feeling confident and comfortable, things are looking good, people aren't going to be here for another 20 minutes, maybe you want to think about some added touches that you could do. You know, lighting some candles, spraying some room spray. I would say be a little careful of this. Some people can be pretty sensitive to different scents, so I would not go overkill. Depending who I'm having over, I like to sometimes have background music playing, like some quiet jazz. It just kind of makes a nice ambiance, and people they shouldn't walk in and think about the music like right away, but it's just kind of like an extra layer in the background to make things feel cozy and peaceful. It might be unnecessary if there's lots of children running around. I just had my friends over for a little play date the other week, and yeah, the music was playing, but I don't think any of us appreciated it because we couldn't even hear it above the din. I don't know, especially this time of year, I like to have maybe some Christmas carols playing quietly, instrumental, not any lyrics or anything. You might not think about it throughout the night, but you'll kind of hear it in your peripheral vision, auditory, your peripheral hearing, I guess we'll say, as you come in the door and you're hanging your coat up and stuff, which is another thing. Think about where they're gonna hang their coats. I know when we first got married, we would throw them on the master bed because there was no place to hang the coats and everybody just piled their shoes by the door. It can be that simple. It does not have to be a big deal. But yeah, make sure you have a place for that as well. As I was saying, special touches, if you have time, this is like the icing on the cake and not necessary. You could set out some mints or some, I love York peppermint patties just to have sitting there. People can help themselves, and they don't have to like wait till the meal, or maybe there isn't gonna be a meal. Maybe you're just gonna serve coffee and cookies later on. Sometimes it's fun to have a little candy dish sitting out, but with children, do it at your own discretion, you know? Or you could even have, if you really want to be the hostess with the mostest, you can have a little appetizers ready for them when they come in the door, or before they're even sitting, you could take their coffee drink order before they sit down, and then as they sit, you can come bring them their coffee, and it just feels so homey and inviting. Just some things to think about. Please don't let these things overwhelm you. I'm giving you a lot of different suggestions and sample ideas. Please don't try doing them all in one night. You will hate me and hosting if you do. You could also set out some cozy blankets ahead of time so people can kind of cozy up with them, especially if you have more of like a leather couch or something. They're not as cozy, so throw blankets are always nice to grab if they're cold. Also, if you have time, something else I like to do is do a little walkthrough and go from where they're gonna park, walk up your walks and see what you see. Sometimes you see things that you're like, oh my word, there's a giant cobweb, I didn't even see that, and you go grab the broom and take it down, whatever. Just like a little last minute thing to make sure that everything is ready. Again, it's icing on the cake. And then when they get there, greet them at the door, unless they're your friends and you just want to yell, come on in, whatever. It depends how big your house is, I guess. It's okay to do that. I'm not a formal girl, so if you have a small house and they're already standing there at the door looking in at you, you can be like, come on in, whatever. Or you can stand at the door and wait for them. But I'm usually doing something in the kitchen, and the kitchen is just a place where people naturally congregate. If they're bringing a dish, they'll come into the kitchen to give it to you. This is where I like tag team with my husband. He'll make sure people know what to do with their coats and that kind of thing, whatever. And then as people start arriving, forget everything you just did. You prepared, put it out of your mind and just focus on the people. That is what is the most important. That's why you put all this time in after all, right? You want to see your friends, so take a big breath, dry your hands on your tea towel, and greet your friends, hang out, and just enjoy the evening. Go into it with a sense of humor. If something doesn't get done quite right, or there's a little snafu, you don't have enough chairs or something, you know, there's always gonna be something that doesn't hit quite right, and that's totally fine. It'll keep you humble, and it'll make them feel better next time they wanna have people over, and the same thing happens to them. A few extra things to consider, as if I hadn't shared enough already. One would be any pets that you have. Are they gonna be okay with people, or are they not? Maybe you wanna put them away if they're gonna be worked up. Or the other way around, do you have any children or guests that are scared of animals and you wanna make sure that you take that into consideration? Don't forget to think about parking. Where are people gonna park? Especially if you live in a small neighborhood or something, that might be a problem. Just tell people, you know, find parking around the block or whatever. It just is what it is, it's fine. Overwhelming scents, make sure you don't have, like I was saying earlier, a lot of strong room sprays or anything like that. I don't like heavy scents, but a candle just adds a nice glow, you know? Think about any choking hazards that you might want to put away if there's children. Also, any special decor. You don't want a mom feeling bad that her child has broken something. So if you're worried about something breaking, just put it away. It's not worth the battle. I don't know. I feel like I have already made people feel unwelcome when I let things out that I don't want them to touch, you know? And maybe you didn't even think of it at first. Just set it up out of the way and say, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about this. I haven't baby-proofed my house. Laugh it off, whatever, and set it up on the piano or whatever. It's fine. But yeah, you just don't want anybody feeling bad about what their kid has done to your priceless heirloom grandma's special candy dish or whatever. Also, maybe there's some no-go zones that you don't want people going into. Shut those doors, or maybe even make a special mention of, we're not gonna go into the office tonight. I have all my Christmas cards laid out and I don't want them messed up, or like whatever, you know? You don't need to apologize for things like that, especially if you have a bigger home. You're not gonna need all the rooms. You don't need to let them just roam the place. That's not hospitality. They can stay in the areas that you want them in, or just sometimes feels like there's people in every nook and cranny, and that can drive me nuts. It makes me feel claustrophobic, which is why I would say size your party accordingly. Don't have too many people if you're having an indoor party. It will bother you. I will tell you that right now. And it might not be bothering other people, but as the hostess, you are gonna feel a lot more frazzled. So I would say keep it smaller at first. Also, I'm very bad for this, but pull some folding chairs out ahead of time and have them propped up against the wall in case you're gonna need them. I know that was a big thing in our first home because we didn't have a lot of furniture, but you know, we wanted places for people to sit. Is that a Mennonite thing? Let me know down below. Do you guys do folding chairs if people come over, or do you sit on the floor? What do you do? I'd love to hear. Hosting can make you feel super vulnerable. It's inviting people into your home, to your space, but the rewards are just, it's amazing. I mean, 99% at the time. Sometimes, you know, and that's where you need your sense of humor. If you mess up or things don't go 100% according to plan, or you run out of food, or your food gets burned, or you feel like people weren't vibing or getting along together well, you know, there's so many more chances to improve in the future, and you will do it again and it will go better the next time. I hope you enjoyed this one. Check out that free printable down below to help you with your planning and just getting your thoughts down. Check out Cometeer, especially if you want to bring your coffee hosting up a notch. Also, check out this video right here if you'd like to discuss how to have a welcoming spirit and just more tips on being a hostess from another Mennonite mom, my cousin Jana. I'm sure you'll find this video helpful as well.